Hey World History, welcome to U15-L10 Basics of World War II Part 2. Your job, watch this Ed puzzle. Questions I ask you today in blue text are going to be questions I want you to answer directly on the Ed puzzle, and of course follow along with your study guide with red text. Learning targets describe the social, political, and economic causes and main turning points of World War II. Describe the causes and consequences of the Nazi Holocaust, including the effects of the Nazis' regime, war against the Jews, and other groups. So, heads up, today we'll have some heavy topics. So, today we are going to start with talking about the Holocaust. I know you all have learned about the Holocaust before. So, what is something you remember learning about the Holocaust? So, the Holocaust was the systematic mass slaughter of the Jews from the German government and its allies, which turned into a genocide. And this lasted from of 1933 all the way until May of 1945. So, this slideshow does not include other categories of peoples Nazis hated. So, it wasn't just the Jewish people. It also was people who were descending from Africa, people from Romania, people who were Slavic, so like in the Balkan region or Russia, people with a mental or physical disability, gay people, communists, and Jehovah Witnesses and Catholics. So in 1942, Hitler began his final solution. So instead of working Jewish people to death in concentration camps, he decided to just kill them instantly. So this was mass murder at a systematic level. So Nazis built extermination camps with gas chambers, as pictured right here. SS doctors kept the strong men and some women alive to work. Women, kids, elderly, sick were told to go, quote unquote, take a shower. They were then stripped of their clothes, went to the shower, and killed with cyanide gas that would come out of the shower holes. So, as you can see here in this photo, kind of looks like a shower, right? You got all these pipes, you got these quote unquote shower heads, but in reality, that's actually just where the gas was piped through and then filled the room, and then everyone was killed. So, good question. Did the US know about the mass killing of Jews before 1945? Yes, the United States did know what was happening. By 1942, escaped prisoners had alerted governments and the media across the globe of what was happening in these concentration camps. President FDR, or President Roosevelt, made empty promises to free the Jews in concentration camps before the war ended, but that did not happen until the war ended in 1945. So it wasn't until 1944 that FDR makes the War Refugee Board, or the WRB, to help Jews get out of Germany and concentration camps. The war ends in May of 1945, and the US is more focused on taking over Germany's government than they are freeing the Jews. So, according to the National World War II Museum, 6 million Jews are killed, and 5 million prisoners of war, Romanian, Slav, Jehovah Witnesses, and other persecuted groups are also killed. So, here's a map of some of the largest of the concentration camps across Europe. Probably the most famous one is going to be Auschwitz, which is located right here in modern day Poland. But this map is also just as important. So, this map, every single little dot represents a concentration camp. So, going back here, you're like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of concentration camps. That's horrifying. But here shows all of them. So, some of these concentration camps weren't the big ones like Auschwitz, there were more smaller ones, but they were just as deadly. So let's talk about the movie that y'all chose, which was the book Thief. So I think like a month ago, I sent out a poll for y'all to answer and of what movie that you wanted to watch that was either a World War One or World War II movie. This is the winner, so it was the book Thief. So who has seen this movie or read the book before? To be honest, I have not seen the movie and I have not read the book by the time that I am making this slideshow. So it'll be kind of a surprise for even me as well. So, The plot of this is while subjugated to the horrors of World War II Germany, young Liesel finds solace by stealing books and sharing them with others. In the basement of her home, a Jewish refugee is being protected by her adoptive parents. So, this movie came out in 2013. It is based on a book of the same name. It is a historical fiction, meaning that the events in this movie did not happen. Like, Liesel's not really a real person, but they're historical, so they could have happened, and they're based on historical accounts. And this movie is PG-13. So, the big thing about this movie is book burning. So, what are book burnings? That's where Nazi Germans would gather on German books and burn them. It was a way of censorship to control media, but also people's thoughts. It started in 1933 among college students. And burning un German books was a sign of loyalty to Nazi Germany. So, pretty much anyone who refused would be accused of being anti Nazi. Nazis would raid bookstores and publishers and take any un-German book. So here is a photo of one of the book burnings. So you can see all these Nazi Germans in the back. You can see all of these books that are on fire. All right, now let's talk about characters. I do this too in my history through film class. I usually always go through characters first because sometimes it's kind of hard to catch their names, and it's always good to go back and refer to them if you're writing about them. So Liesel is the main character of the movie. She is a German girl who is fostered by Hans and Rosa Huberman. Her biological father was arrested for being communist, her biological brother was killed, and her biological mom was forced to send her into a foster home in order to protect her from Nazi persecution. So she steals books because she's fascinated with reading. Then we have Hans Haberman. That is Liesel's foster dad, who she calls Papa, and his wife is Rosa. He's an artist, and he learns to read better with Liesel. And he's hiding Max Vanderberg in the basement. And he was a soldier during World War One. And Max's father saved him during World War One. So as a return, he is hiding Max from the Nazis. Then we have Rosa Huberman. That is Liesel's foster mom, calls her Mama, married to Hans, and she washes laundry and does like other household chores as her job. We then have Max, and he was a Jewish fist fighter. His dad and Hans were soldier buddies from World War One. So that is why Hans is hiding him in the basement from Nazis, because it's kind of like he's paying back Max's dad. He also helps Liesel develop her love of reading and books. Then we have Rudy. That is Liesel's neighbor. He has blonde hair and blue eyes, which is like the perfect, ideal person that Nazi Germans wanted. He's very athletic. He does not support the Nazis. He is poor and typically hungry. He also has a crush on Liesel. Then we have Ilse Hermann. That is the wife of the mayor of Mulching. Mulching is a city where all the main characters live. She hires Rosa to do chores and creates a friendship with Rosa and trades books. And she is very depressed because her son died back in World War One. Then we have Hans Jr., so that's the son of Hans and Rosa. He's a big Nazi supporter and argues with his dad about the Nazi government. So, what do I expect when watching a movie? So, I broke this movie into 5 chunks and then I have them all on Edpuzzles, just FYI. So, the 4 chunks are 30 minutes long. The last chunk, which is lesson 19, is only 4 minutes long. So, the first 4 chunks have 5 questions that you need to answer. They're just multiple choice questions. I'll be grading on if you get the questions right or wrong. They're just going to be questions about the movie just to make sure that you're actually paying attention. And the last chunk is only 4 minutes, so I didn't put any questions because it's literally 4 minutes long. So this is kind of random, but important to know for the movie. So Jesse Owens is going to come up in the movie, and you're like, really? Like the Olympian? Yeah. So he was a United States track and field athlete. He won 4 gold medals at the 1936 Berlin Olympic Games. So Berlin is in Germany. Who was in power in 1936? Hitler was. So Hitler was in attendance, and he hated Jesse Owens for winning because Nazis are also racist. So, what questions do you have about the movie? And if you don't have any, that's a-okay. Just type none. All right, let's go back to talking about the rise of Germany and the start of World War II. So, the Third Reich. On November 5th, 1937, Hitler tells his advisors that he's going to take over Austria as well as Czechoslovakia, and that he would be starting the Third Reich, meaning he would be starting a German empire. So Hitler wanted more Lebensraum, which translates to living space. He promised the Germans to conquer space in both Russia, but also parts of Eastern Europe. And in March of 1938, Germany takes over Austria. But the problem is that no ally country like Great Britain or France fight back. None of them do. They just let Germany do it. Also, there's a Czech crisis. So the Sudetenland. The Sudetenland is this little area that surrounds kind of Germany and Czechoslovakia. So about 3 million Germans live in this little strip of land, and Hitler wanted that land and absorb it into Germany. Then we have the Munich Conference. So this happened in September of 1938. It was Britain, France, Italy, here's Mussolini right here, and Germany, that is Hitler. And they allowed Hitler to take Austria and the Sudetenland if he promised not to take any other land. Hitler agreed that he'd have no more demands. But of course, he was lying. Neville Chamberlain, who was the Prime Minister of Great Britain, thought this agreement was peace for our time. Because all these men had seen the devastation of World War I, they didn't want a sequel war. So, Great Britain's pre war policy of appeasement. So, Great Britain had the policy of appeasement towards Germany. Great Britain thought that if they gave into the minor demands of Germany, Germany would be satisfied and maintain peace in Europe. But Great Britain was extremely wrong. Then there's the betrayal. In March of 1939, Hitler takes over Czechoslovakia. Britain and France realize Hitler is a big liar, and he really doesn't want peace, but they also know Hitler wants Poland. So Hitler demands the Polish port of Danzig, which is this little port right up here. It's an important port. There's a lot of goods that get traded through this little port right here. And Britain promises help to Poland against Hitler if Hitler ever invades Poland. Then there's also something called the Nazi-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact. So this was signed in August of 1939, and it created a non-aggression pact between Germany and Russia, which meant that there would be no fighting each other. So Germany and Russia agreed not to fight each other. Instead, they just agreed to split up Poland, although Poland had not even been invaded yet. Neither Russia or Germany had control over Poland. But still, Russia and Germany agreed just to take Poland for themselves, although Poland had no say in it whatsoever. It also gave Stalin control of East Poland and the Baltic states. So here is the division that Germany and Russia had come to an agreement on. Again, Germany would have the western part of Poland, Russia would have the eastern part of Poland. So, remember though, Stalin and Hitler hate each other despite them coming to agreement on this pact. Stalin hates fascism and Hitler hates communism. So, Germany finally invades Poland. So, a little bit of a back history. So, way back in 1934, Hitler signed a non aggression pact with Poland too, meaning that they wouldn't fight each other. He breaks this. Many Germans hated Poland because it was partially created with German territory from the Treaty of Versailles way back in World War I. Germany's invasion on Poland is generally considered to be the act that sparked the beginning of World War II. So Hitler invades September 1st, 1939, and he uses this military tactic called blitzkrieg, which means lightning war. That's where there's attacks on the ground with lots of air support from airplanes above. This is the strategy that allows Germany to have military success at the beginning of World War II. Poland doesn't last very long. They surrender in September 27th, 1939. So Germany successfully invaded Poland. Great Britain and France were like, WTF, Germany, what did you just do? And September 3rd, 1939, Great Britain and France declare war on Germany. So, how did Germany, Japan, and Italy become allies? That's a really good question because you're probably like, well, Germany and Italy I could get, but Japan's like way over in Asia. How the heck did that happen? We will find out next time in Lesson 11. So, wrap up for today. We talked about the Holocaust, Final Solution, Third Reich. We talked about the Book Thief, Lebensraum, Munich Conference, Appeasement, Nazi Soviet Non Aggression Pact, and Blitzkrieg. Next up, you're going to watch U15-L10, World War II Japan Part 1. And if you have questions, comments, or want to learn more, let us know. We're happy to help. Thanks for watching. Bye.